There was a Trump parade around 275. It's the highway that circles Cincinnati, and it clogged up the entire interstate for an entire day.
Really? All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to play the intro now. All right. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what you got. Tell us the foundation you're a part of.
So the foundation is called the Liberland Aid Foundation, and it's sort of the informal humanitarian arm of the Free Republic of Liberland. The general idea is that Liberland is a country where everybody just kind of contributes as they best see themselves able to, and that results in a lot of different things going a lot of different directions all at the same time. So the general idea behind the foundation was we have a lot of people who want to do general, really good things around the world, but we don't want to see duplicative efforts. We don't want to see waste. We don't want things happening that cancel each other out. So we decided that we needed this foundation that we could move everything through so that we could both keep the Liberland brand kind of on point with everything that we're doing and make sure that things were happening in a cohesive manner.
So you kind of set it up so that you just so everything kind of gets funneled through one location, and you can have the kind of get the bucks together all in one place to make a stronger movement, correct?
Yeah, so if you think about like if you've got 100 people that each have $100 that want to do a project, you can only do each person can only do $100 worth of good. But if you get all those people and put all their money together, now you've got 10,000. And you can do a lot more because you get economies of scale, you have a lot more reach, you've got a brand behind you now. And you also get the fact that we're a 501c3, you're tax deductible, so your money goes further than it would if you were just doing it individually on your own.
So more than that, besides just buying a bottle of water, you can dig a well, you know.
Actually, yes, and that was one project we were about to do, and we moved in a different direction, but we do have that kind of on the back burner where yeah, instead of just delivering people bottles of water, we're actually thinking about doing a project where we drill wells all over Africa to area, and we would teach the people who are in the vicinity how to maintain the well. It's a partnership with an organization called Marian Medical Mission, and that's been shelved for the time being because COVID kind of threw a lot of gears out of whack. But that's a project that we're still looking forward to doing someday down the road.
That's excellent stuff. I like the idea of missions that cause sustainability and self-reliance. Those are the best ones because, let's face it, you can always throw money at something, but unless you can make that something to where they can manage it themselves and you can move on to the next project, you're kind of, I don't want to say wasting your time, but you're chasing your tail.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's the teach a man to fish or give a man a fish conundrum, right? And 100 people can buy 100 fish, or they can get together and teach fishermen.
Mm-hmm. So what big projects are you working on right now?
So our guest today is Stephen Woods. Stephen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I've got a pretty all over the place background. I was a political science major who got out of school right at the 2009 or 8-9 recession. Moved to DC, started working in politics. I got pretty disaffected pretty quickly with the swamp. I was always trying to do as much good as I possibly can and not cause problems. But if you work in DC long enough, you'll realize that even when you're trying to do good, it gets perverted. And the good that you're doing turns into just horrible stuff. So I moved into the tech industry and started building solutions for problems all over the place. And I did that for the private sector and for academia before launching a startup I launched a startup kind of concurrently with doing all of that. My goal was to basically show people what the laws and regulations are because they're always changing, they're doing everywhere, blah, blah, blah. and you need to know what the rules are so that you can follow them and make effective change, right? Well, that was going pretty good until coronavirus hit and just kind of killed the market for the part of the product we were going to monetize. So that just kind of fell by the wayside. But a year before that happened, I started working with Liberland people. I just kind of met them while I was building my startup, just fortuitously. And I was one of the few people I'd ever run into in like the political sector in that area that had actually heard of Liberland. So they were like, yeah, you should talk to our representatives and all this. And came out that we needed this sort of foundation to happen. And given my background, which I haven't touched on the whole thing, but I've started multiple nonprofits in the past and managed the finances and fundraising aspect of a lot of them. So it was pretty simple for me to just get this all put together. And then after I finished, they're like, can you stick around and help us run it? Because we don't know anything about nonprofit foundation operations. So it was a natural progression. And now I'm the president of the foundation, just kind of submitted his resignation like 2 weeks ago. So I've been the vice president. Now I'm just serving as the interim president until we're able to find a replacement full president.
Very interesting. So you kind of you met some of the guys from Liberland and just kind of became a part of it. I like that.
Yeah, I've always been pretty liberty minded. And when I lived in DC, it was weird because I feel like I must have known every libertarian in DC.
All three or four of them?
That many of them, huh?
Yeah, there's actually a pretty tightly knit circle of real hardcore libertarians, and I don't want to divulge all of their identities, but there's a couple that are now running around in policy circles at the top levels or writing articles a lot of us probably read on a daily basis. And it was very helpful to have a really reinforced, kind of closely knit freedom foundation in that.
We're losing your sound real quick. Can we have you kind of, I don't know, talk a little louder or come in a little closer?
Yeah, I'm trying to not be super loud because my kids are sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll talk a little bit louder. Is this better?
Yeah, that's okay. Good.
And yeah, like where I'm in Cincinnati Eastern time, so it's 9:15-ish right now, and both my kids are in bed. One's 6 months, but I don't want to wake him.
No, that's the kid you were telling us about before we went hot, and the
very appreciated,
the unbreakable child.
Yeah, that kid, mommy got COVID while she was pregnant, and so that kid was probably born with immunity.
I think that's pretty awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to work this here, but I think that's pretty awesome that she caught it, but everything worked out okay, and I guess pretty awesome's not the way to put it. I think that's great that everything worked out okay, and in the end, child's probably better off for it.
Maybe it's a sci-fi movie.
And it was a really weird time to be having a baby. Like all the hospitals were completely empty.
Really?
The only thing that was really open at the hospital where she delivered was the labor and delivery ward. Everything else was strictly COVID. So all the doctors that weren't attending to COVID patients were swarming us. We had like twice the medical staff on this that we would have had any other time.
How was your experience on being able to enter and leave and all that?
Oh, it was a nightmare.
Was it?
Once I stepped in, I could not leave. If I left, I would not have been allowed back in.
Oh.
They only allowed me in because I was the support parent.
Oh, man, that's rough. So, anyways, let's get back onto what we had you on here for. If people want to donate, what are some of the projects that are open for donations right now?
We're always accepting donations, and we've always got projects going on. The biggest one we're working on right now is harkening back to sustainability. We've got this really major project I hate to say a 5-year plan, but it's a 5-year plan to bring sustainable agriculture to Haiti. So, if you're not terribly familiar, Haiti has been very deforested. It's kind of desertifying itself because they've clear cut so many, all of the trees. And it's getting really hard to even grow food there, which is one reason that they have a lot of famine and a lot of hunger. So we've been doing projects where we deliver food to the people who are hungry and starving, but we don't want to just send food again back to the you give a man a fish or you can teach them how to fish. So we've been partnering with a couple of organizations down in Haiti and a couple of really good guys who are doing what's called syntropic agroforestry. And we've been getting familiarized with this through the Trees for Peace Alliance as well, which is sort of a network of other sort of philanthropic oriented organizations that are trying to do good throughout the world. And syntropic agroforestry is basically building food forests. And once you get these things started, you kickstart them a little bit, but then it grows, it regenerates the soil rather than depleting it. So, like traditional crops and harvesting does, so you don't need fertilizers, and it creates a microclimate. So there's a lot more rain, and it uses a lot less water. All of the various nutrients that the various crops use, and it's all like trees. It's not like mass like unicrop as a lot of farming is. It's all mixed together and it's clustered, but it's all mixed together in the same plot of land. And they sort of reinforce each other. So it's basically like building a rainforest. You're basically creating a rainforest that produces food that you can go eat. So it's a really fantastic project. And we've seen a lot of success around the world with syntropic agroforestry. It's been a phenomenal success in Brazil, and it requires slight adaptations to each climate zone that you're working in. So we've been working on tailoring all of the projects that we've been doing around that to the Haitian climate and getting buy-in from local communities and recruiting farmers and creating all this educational material, writings, videos, and doing interviews with people who are familiar with the area to sort of build a groundswell of support so that we can have a real sustainable solution to the problem of hunger and starvation and famine in Haiti. So that's our biggest project. We're also doing a lot of disaster relief around coronavirus. We were distributing hundreds of thousands of masks. We've got a really great supplier for those, and we can get them basically anywhere in the world. So there's some mask shortages, and I personally don't like wearing masks, but if you need them, you got to have them, right? So we're trying to get them into the hands of people who need them. And so that's another project that we're currently doing. We just finished up a project in Croatia, but it kind of had a wrinkle. There was a disaster. It was an earthquake that struck the children's hospital. Very bad. Destroyed a big portion of it. So we raised funds to help rebuild it. But there was some error in communication, so we're still working it out. We already sent the money, but they sent it back to us because they didn't know what it was for. I'm like, we gave you this letter, so
but they sent it back.
They
sent the money back.
Yeah, they wired it back to us. Like, come on, guys, we sent you tons of money.
That's an honest actor, though. Keep working with them. I like the honest actor act. Like, what's this for? We don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe our letter wasn't properly translated into Croatian or something, and they didn't understand why we sent them the money. But
I think you need to send a person
with someone
over
in the finance department and the Croatian government, and they've been helping us iron this out. So we should have it solid probably in a week or so, I hope. We'll figure that out. And as you're probably familiar with the conflict in Azerbaijan and Armenia, there's various people who are kind of caught in the middle of that. And we've been raising funds to help those people out as well.
What's the plan with those people? Are you trying to extract them or setting up safe zones? What's the idea there?
We are actually not allowed to do that much. So we've talked to the government of it's like a kind of a semi-autonomous zone. It's called Artsakh. I think that's how it's pronounced. And they said, please just send us the money. And because they've got it's basically blockaded. You can't really get in or out, but they have aid channels set up, direct flights to the airport. So they want to coordinate it all. They just need help doing it. So that's sort of the thrust of that project.
Hmm.
The Armenian community in the US has been pretty helpful with getting that coordinated, but personally, we can't actually go in and do too much in that particular project.
Okay, just so who's they've got the area blockaded off. I guess that's probably here. Hold on, I need to probably turn up the volumes just a little bit.
So when you say they, you're talking about the Azerbaijani army,
I
correct?
guess I'm not wading into the geopolitical nature of this project too much. I'm not a Asia expert by any means. I'm not sure who is blockading who. I'm not sure who is behind the inability to physically get aid into the country. All I know is that, or the region, sorry. All I know is that it cannot really be done very effectively right now. And our channels have requested that we just go through the official government channel to direct fly aid into the region.
And we're not providing military support. You're
No,
providing just food,
yeah,
blankets,
humanitarian. We're not sending them weapons or anything.
right?
Yeah, we're just shipping like food and water and show and like tents and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that's going to go over there. We're just helping pay for a lot of
And it looks pretty bad. I follow the events on the news a lot. I'm very familiar with the conflict as it started. I try to follow everyone's feed that I'm involved with, and so I'll give my perspective to the audience. Azerbaijan, it's a country near Turkey and Armenia, and then there's Artsakh. It's an autonomous country. It's aided by Armenia, but Azerbaijan believes that the territory belongs to them. So therefore, they launched a military attack on Artsakh, and a lot of people are getting hurt because this Azerbaijan country, which is something that us here in the second district of Utah, we've been very friendly with their ambassador. Recently, Chris Stewart, our representative, even had their ambassador a couple of years ago attend his annual summit on relations and security for the United States, and he seemed like a nice enough guy. But still, even though this is, from my perspective as a Utah resident, we hosted Azerbaijan here to talk to us, and what they've done now, it from my perspective, violates the non-aggression principle. So, in my view, I think sending aid to Artsakh and the poor people that are caught in this conflict over a land grab is important. And I don't see many aid agencies talking about it, let alone doing anything about it. But the Liberland Aid Foundation is. And it's important that we as Americans support this Armenian culture as they're being invaded by this other country. And, we're not going to be able to save them most likely. It seems like everybody's jumping in on this one. But if we can provide food and shelter, this really is, it's an invasion and it's an attack. And I'd like to think that by sending money to this cause, I feel like I'd be on the right side of the geopolitical battle when it comes to my moral senses. It's important. It's important from my perspective as an American veteran who fought over there in Kosovo and in that region and in the Middle East. I see how aggressive these countries can be when they see free land available. There's no limit to how many lives their leaders, these warlords, are willing to throw at other nations just to try to grab land. And it's sad. But I applaud the Liberland Aid Foundation for choosing this mission. And I try to be as involved with the Liberland Aid Foundation as possible. I sit in on the board meetings and whatnot, so I have to disclose that.
It's been a phenomenal success.
And I didn't have any input when it came to choosing this mission. You guys did this idea all by yourselves, and I can't tell you how proud I am to be part of a group of people that I didn't. Jared knows how important this incident is to me. We have arguments about how much should the U.S. be involved with it or not. A lot offline, but the Liberland Aid Foundation, they just spearheaded this right out of nowhere, and it made me so happy that they were willing to do that for those poor people in Artsakh. So bravo to you, Steve. I really I can't wait to throw my donation in there, and I'll be doing that tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. We are appreciative of any support that we can get for this project. And the way I like to think of it is if you remember when Russia went after Crimea, wouldn't you have wanted to be able to do something about that? Like, wouldn't that have been great if you could have helped the people of Crimea in some way? And this is a very analogous situation in that respect, where we have an invasion that's happening right now, and you can do something about it.
Luckily, in Crimea, though, it was a pretty bloodless takeover.
Yeah.
So you pretty much just changed one warlord for another, and nobody died. Here they're literally going in there, capturing people, cutting their heads off. It's a holy war analogy over there. I mean, they even talk about it on their feeds and on the chats, and it's heartbreaking to me because this is why I spent 21 years of my life in the military trying to stop. And as soon as I retire, here it is all over again. We were supposed to crush ISIS. Now everyone who was ISIS is now in Azerbaijan, hanging out with the Turks and trying to attack the Armenians. And it's personal to me as an individual.
Well, we're glad to have your support on this. And yeah, like Dave said, it's not something that was brought down from the very top. This was just a project that was floated up from the bottom. People asked us to take it on, and we agreed to do it.
So how can people donate to the Liberland Aid Foundation, Steve?
So the foundation's website is liberlandfoundation.org, Liberland foundation.org, and there's a donate page on there. We'll take any donation of any size. If you've got a PayPal account, you can donate to us without having to pay any fees through the PayPal Giving Fund. If you don't have a PayPal account, we still use PayPal to process credit card donations. And Liberland is all about crypto and blockchain. So, of course, we accept crypto donations as well. Most of that is facilitated through Coinbase and Coinbase Commerce. They don't charge any fees. Or if you have a Coinbase account, you can always send free of charge from one Coinbase account to the other. If you send it to laf@liberland.org, that's another way you can donate. And that's the best ways to send us any sort of contribution that you'd like. And obviously, we're a 501c3, we're tax exempt, and any donations are tax deductible. So you get, well, depending on your tax bracket, you might get up to like half of your money back.
We're flashing it on the screen right now. Also, the contact information for it will be in the show notes on whatever you consume this on. It looks like it's a pretty simple site to use. You go to liberlandfoundation.org, pops up with the flag of Liberland. Scroll down, there's a donate. And if you've got any other questions about it, there's a vision and mission links in there as well.
We try to be as open and transparent as possible. If anyone has any questions, you can always email us and we're happy to answer them.
Very good. Very, very good. Yeah, I like to see it. I would like to see some relief for Haiti come along too. Haiti's been in a mess for, well, forever. What's all their clear cutting coming from?
People need money, and a lot of the money in Haiti is coming in from foreign aid. And when that's not enough, people go out and they cut down the trees to sell them for timber.
Okay, so that's been one of the big questions. Again, teach a man to fish. Foreign aid has had the adverse effect a lot of times of killing local markets. Like, take for instance the shoe companies that when you buy a shoe, it mails another shoe to to some impoverished nation. Well, by that happening, the cobblers in that nation then are out of work. So then you add another person onto the docket where they're no longer, gainfully employed. So then you've got to send two more of whatever, and it keeps multiplying. I like the idea of foreign aid being in a sustainability model where instead of we send them a finished product, we send them a piece of a means to produce a product and to build up their own economy.
That's our general philosophy. We do some acute relief, for example, with the earthquake that just partially destroyed the children's hospital in Zagreb.
And there's times that's needed. Obviously,
right. But for a lot of our projects, we try to take a long-term holistic approach to sustainable solutions rather than just throw money at a problem and hope it goes away for a little while.
Yeah, I really like that idea of that self-sustaining farming down there. All right, we've got the next guy. He's on. I'll bring him in and then mute him. But thanks for joining us today, Steve. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Anytime.
And
if you want to chat again in the future, just ring me up.
Yeah, and if you've ever got a new push coming out, please just shoot us a message. Come on in, and we'll get you on there. Hopefully, I'm gonna close your video down for just a second, Ryan, if I can figure out how. Or could you mute your video, Ryan? All right. Okay. All right. Well, that's best I can do with my technical knowledge. But Steve, but yeah, if there's anything else that comes up that you need a push for, please jump on and let us know.
Absolutely. I'll let you know whenever we have a new major project spinning up so we can find a time to sit down here and talk about it.
Perfect. Sounds good. All right, Steve, you have a good night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thanks for having me.